X Factor Youth. I'm part of the X Factor Youth. Put me on stage, you can find me in the book. Put me on a track like I'm stuck inside a booth. I'm that nigga, young nigga with the truth. Black body with a Jewish mindset flow. Black man with a lot of grind, I know. Inside I go, my mind's on though. I hide my mode, me blind, my bro. Never ever did they realize my bro. Grown man making niggas cry, my bro.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, young excellencies. It is that time once again. My name is Blissy Beer from the X Factor Youth, and welcome to the X Factor Youth podcast, where we speak about all things excellence, exceptionality, extraordinariness, and exceeding expectations. Now, what a time to be alive, eh? So this particular gentleman that I'm speaking to today is one that I've been following for a good year. And he's been in different spaces really trying to put us on in the political scene, because some of us, we just don't have time for government anymore. We don't feel the need to participate in politics, but we are seeing, as things are really going down in the country, that young people just need to step up a bit more. And because I want to be converted, yes, I want to be converted myself, I really want to see how we can be involved because of the fact that X Factor Youth is in the private space, because we find it better that way. However, to reach a bigger impact, we have to confront government. So this conversation is just to really educate us, but to also allow us the space to vent, but also show us that there's a silver lining still. We just need to be actively participative as youth in South Africa. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, His Excellency Otsile Nkadimeng. How are you doing, my king?
I'm doing all right. His Excellency, though. Hey, I think you're overstating.
No, man. No. So at the X Factor Youth, because of the fact that we all excellent,
yeah,
we always address each other as our excellencies, you know, just to take away from the royal. Now we have to be royal to be excellencies. This is not how we do things out here, bro. So you're part of the family. And like I said, this is a conversation that we've been trying to do for a good year now. Yeah. Where we just sit down and you really get to introduce us to this political space. You know, most of us come from the business, economics. We try our best to avoid politics, but we are there at some point. Like there's a cul-de-sac at some point where we just have to go through that phase, and it's like, who's So thank you so much for finally sitting down and being part of this conversation. But just to give the audience, our excellencies, an introduction to who you are, in case they haven't seen you on the SABCs and the ENCAs and stuff like that. Who is Otsile Nkadimeng?
Well, firstly, thank you so much for having me. I'm glad that this is happening. It's been a long time coming, but now that it's happening, I am very happy to be here and to speak to all of the excellencies. So I'm Otsile Nkadimeng. I was born 2004, so I'm not that old. But I've been in the activism advocacy space since I was 14. I started in my grade 8 year in high school with climate change. Like, it's one of those issues that you leave to the scientists, but it was something that I came to identify as having a massive impact, not just on our environment, but you look at how the environment is connected to so many other things that people leave out. The state of the economy, safety, security, health. It became such a pressing matter that I had to act on it. And then come 2022, I had founded the Sundial movement and worked with Fridays for Future. Then a good friend of mine, Tafir Mustafa, who lives in Cape Town, great guy, shout out Tafir. He came to me with the idea of So We Vote. In that time, it didn't have a name. It was just a concept. And so we kicked around with it for about 3 or 4 months. But it was somewhere around December of 2022. It was just after exams. I was in grade 11. And I think I had spoken with people in my class around like, hey guys, so next year's matric, but after that there's an election. So what are you guys going to be doing? And I realized people didn't know what they wanted to do. They didn't know who they would even consider voting for. They felt there was no vision. And they mainly felt that they just didn't understand what was happening in the political space. And so I came to understand at a much deeper level why So We Vote needed to exist. And so Tafir and I, we started that. And we've been going now since early 2023. We've had a good impact. We've registered 50,000 young people, with no money, by the way. We're totally bootstrapped. We did it all on the basis of volunteers, people that are willing to give their time. And there were so many exceptional young people that exist in South Africa that are so invested in this country's democracy, invested in the future. And we registered 50,000 young people. We had a reach of close to 100,000 people using our platform in terms of where our content went. And yeah, Soy Vote is by far the thing that I'm most proudest that I've done with my life so far. Outside of my Soy Vote democracy politics work, I'm a fellow with the International Youth Think Tank. We're really thinking about how do we safeguard democracy. A lot of people don't want to think about it, but it's fundamentally a question of, in an era where the world is doing so bad, everyone is losing money, losing jobs, losing houses, losing their security, losing the things that make life feel safe and comfortable. What is it that we will need to carry us through and to repair the system? And though a lot of the misfortune comes from democratic decisions, democracy is still the best system we have of organizing ourselves. And so I'm a fellow with the International Youth Think Tank trying to see how do we modernize it? How do we make it work for people now? I think in South Africa, everyone can resonate with that feeling. And I'm a youth advisor with the Embassy of Sweden, just advising them with their youth programs. How do they integrate young people better into the programs that they do? And how the embassy can just be a more present feature in the lives of young South Africans. And recently, I've just got on board with Misunderstood, which is a media entity. We are primarily focused on new media. We think that traditional media is dying. I mean, who under age 35 do you know that has a DSTV?
Yeah.
Like, I know MultiChoice is catching strays, but
Yeah.
who has a DSTV? Who still listens to 702 radio? Who still, like, if I ask people who's the host of Afternoon Drive, most people don't know. Our parents used to know because that was their time. But now TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, platforms that this podcast is put out on, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, these are the spaces where media is going. And if we learn from America and what's happened there in the past election, is that new media will determine opinions, will help shape opinions, and will also help direct us in where we're going. People turn to media for advice. They turn to media for direction. Misunderstood, we're here to craft that vision. And so we're doing that. And my day job is I study BCom law.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense. I just wanted to find out what gave you the conviction. What made you think that, okay, you can be the person to just shift our thinking? And where did you get that resilience? Because it's not an easy space, I assume. You know, that's the partnerships that you have to manage. It's the people that you talk about at times. Yeah. And you're exposing yourself. You are vulnerable to so many things. But what gives you that resilience to keep moving forward? And despite people like me saying that I politics, but you're still like, no, let's continue to educate. Let's continue to inform. Let's continue to promote the need to participate politically.
It really comes back to family. So I grew up in a political family. I feel like that's what makes me see everything as inherently political. You know, my grandfather was in politics. He was in the leadership of the ANC, the Communist Party, and COSATU back in the dark days of apartheid. My parents grew up. My dad was an activist in South Africa. My mom was in exile because of my grandfather's work. And so I grew up in an environment where everything had to do with politics because everyone was involved in it at some point. And so for me, when I started to see the world and I was like, yeah, hey, we're in trouble. Our politicians aren't serious people. The political parties all seem to be saying the same thing. And South Africa doesn't seem to be going anywhere. I sort of felt an inclination that I come from a family where people saw similar-ish problems and said, okay, well then I'm going to do something. And so it was that root that rooting in my foundation that made me say, okay, I'm going to do something about this. And so, it started just simply with really debating in high school. It doesn't sound that big, but debating was the first outlet that I got to have these types of conversations. It's starting with the conversations in your schooling community where you change maybe 30 people's opinion. It takes like 6 months to do it, but you change the opinions of 30 people. You are one person that, to steal this phrase, you were a cup that ran over, and you ran over into 30 cups, and those are 30 cups that are going to run over into 30 more people. It's all going to have a compound interest effect. And so it started there. And then close to middle of high school, you start to see that a lot of the people that take these decisions are not good at what they're doing. And you force yourself in the space. I don't know what gives me the audacity to think that maybe I have proposals that are solutions that will work. But I think when you have been paying attention for so long and don't hear what you wish was being said in the space, you sort of feel like getting up and doing it yourself. And so I think that answers my why I do this. It's because I don't hear anyone else saying what I'm saying. And I also think we're in a position where so many people are just they just feel so bad about the situation. They feel it's bigger than them, that those of us that feel that we can do something about it, people like you, people like me, people like everyone in the space, we throw ourselves in. It's not easy. Sometimes you're filling other cups when yours feels empty, but this is the work of building a society. It's the work of building a nation. It's not just the politicians. I'll always tell people that never believe that it's the politicians that make a society and that make a country. Those are people that just hold offices that really mean nothing if you don't respect them. You, as a leader in your community, in your society, amongst your friends, your colleagues, your peers, you have more influence than any person who will stand at the union buildings in 2029 and take the oath of president. Because you are someone that people can trust and believe in. And so that answers the why, because someone has to step into the leadership vacuum.
Do you think being in high school, the fact that you did debating, because I'm not gonna lie, some of us, we were in the sports side.
We were the nerds.
Yeah, everyone's been like, debating.
We were the nerds. I'm not gonna lie.
But do you think now that we can connect the dots, that it should be in a way compulsory to do debating, because of the fact that you learn to think about things critically, even though you can agree with certain things, but just play devil's advocate sometimes. And just look at it from a different view, because I won't lie, it took me years to get to that point, to be able to debate, to think about things critically, because I didn't spend my 10,000 hours doing that. So would you say that even youth organizations, that they should be a debating or public speaking class outside of the sports? Because we always tend to put sports first, but it's these type of activities that we've looked down upon, like your Toastmasters. Or you're debating. Back in my days, we were just like, nah. But seeing how, for example, you articulate yourself and other people in the same space, is like, we should have done that, man. Like, we really missed the train, and seeing the way that you articulate and the way that you do things your way. Yeah. It's quite noble, and we notice, we see it, and we are fully behind that. But do you think, had you not done that, you would still be in the space?
Honestly speaking, I think I would have been here, but I wouldn't have been as good. Because the confidence to do this, I think if I go on a much deeper level, starts in grade 6 of primary school, when Mrs. Tesna, God rest her soul, my English teacher, saw potential in me for public speaking. And it's when a teacher takes an interest in you and says, you can do something. That's really when you start to apply yourself above and beyond. Debating, there are many people that do debating. I debated so many other kids in high school. None of them have even an interest in what I'm doing. And it's because they maybe don't feel that they can do it, you know? I personally am of the opinion that one thing that is a benefit that they do get is the perspective to see the world through multiple lenses. I myself know my children, I'm going to make them do debating, but it's far more important outside of me doing debating to be well-rounded. I also did some sports. I went to an all-boys high school, so I had to do some sports. But it's in the well-roundedness, focusing on your academics, doing a cultural activity, doing a sports activity, whilst you're still in high school or that stage of your schooling. That helps you pick up so many different characteristics because it's through sports. I did water polo for I gave up on water polo, but I did water polo for a season.
Gotcha.
And then I did cross country, which is pretty much like endurance running. And I did basketball also for a brief touch, and then COVID happened. But those taught me different characteristics. Debating teaches you teamwork and speaking. Sports teaches you dynamics. It teaches you leadership. It teaches you what it actually means to be in a much larger team. In debating, you just need to learn to speak in a coherent team.
Gotcha.
In sports, you have to learn to actually work with these people. And so it's important that you pick up both, because one is not more important than the other. And that was emphasized to us in high school. And I didn't understand it then, but looking back, with the retrospective lens, yeah. But even if you don't have those opportunities, just English home language, because I assume that's what the Department of Education really tries to make a lot of kids do. English home language is one of those subjects that people don't really understand the foundations of it. Don't really understand the foundations of it. The foundations of it are so that you have a subject that teaches you comprehension, teaches you articulation, and teaches you to dissect and interrogate things from multiple levels. Because that's what your English paper 1 is supposed to teach you to do when you're reading those many extracts and all of that. I'm tying all of this back to education to say people often have this perspective that, if I just had the same opportunity as Otsile to do model UN debating and normal Saki debating and all of these different things, I would have turned out like that. No, there are so many people that are so much better than I am that didn't even do any of those things, but they focus on the fundamentals of what you're given already, and they turn it into something more valuable. Because I think that's often what's missing, I'll say at least of my lens back then. I didn't realize that all of these different things contribute in creating a well-rounded person that is actually able to contribute valuably to society and to the world. Yeah. And also, I also think without running, I would be a mess. The ability to just space out and just focus on your breathing, focus on the distance that you're going. It's my me time. And without that, you're not going to cope.
Well, while you speak about that, there's that English phrase, how does it go? Jack of all trades.
Yeah.
Master. Of none. But then there's that continuation, it's master of all none, but better than the master of one.
Yeah.
And it's what you're saying, that spread yourself out. You don't have to be the best in everything, but at least you can take away from those things and you might use them later on.
There's value in everything.
Exactly. And that is so powerful. And then another question that I wanted to ask actually is, because you have this ability to speak about the different leaders in different countries, what would you say, what type of leadership do we need, or who, from the leaders in our history to present? What type of leader do you think South Africa needs in order for us to get to where we need to go?
It's more than just one leader. We're going to need a succession of at least 4. Because we're going to need a tough leader, a Lee Kuan Yew of sorts, a person who can come and break existing cycles that leave us or that put us where we are. So right now we have government protocols and norms that exist that need to be broken. We have societal norms and ways of doing things that need to be broken. And we really have unruly but powerful figures that need to be sort of broken down a little bit to understand that they can't rule shotgun over the masses, that there's actually, we're all in this together sort of mentality. So we're going to need a tough Lee Kuan Yew figure-ish like that, in my own personal opinion. That's going to have to be followed by one that I would call the soft builder.
Okay.
A person that is able to be tough as nails when needed, but is always ultimately a father figure, by and large, for a large group. You think about someone that's done that successfully. I'm not sure it's in a nation context, but drawing at least from a South African context, you'd need an Oliver Tambo-like figure. A soft but carefully thought out leader, but that is tough as nails when they need to, and has a profound sense of right and wrong. The third, I think, is someone that's going to focus wholly on the society and building it and protecting it. To that extent, I don't think history really points us to a person that can do that. I mean, people make examples of Brazil's current president that had to come back, Lula. But I think for that, you need someone that speaks deeply to a society. And if we're very honest, on the surface level, there are so many, but when you look at the actual material outcome, there's none. Who has had an approach that has healed the wounds of a society, but also given it a tremendous sense of we're doing this because it is right for us. Because after a tough leader and a leader like Tambo, you need someone like that in the middle. And then the fourth one is you're going to need a caretaker. Because after so much building, you need a period of just soft gliding in the ascent. Just like stop taking us up, just like keep us where we are, because it's a good incline. But a caretaker, someone that just focuses on keeping the trains running on time, keeping the machinery of government efficient and running. I think history's loaded with those types of leaders. They're the ones who people say they came, they went, they really didn't do much. But it's when you say they really didn't do much that you know that they actually did what they were supposed to do. But they're often the hardest to keep in office because people like change makers. People like a Steve Jobs over a Steve Ballmer. And we're going to need a combination. Well, not really a combination, but we're going to need a sequence of those four in my anticipation. But if we need it in one, the problems of South Africa are more than just one person, because one person has, and this isn't just a president, this is just goes to be a leader of a party. It's more than just like a normal tenure. It's more than just 10 years. This takes an entire generation. It'll take an entire generation to build us back up, another generation to sustain the progress, and a third generation that will need to reassess the world where it is there to make drastic changes to keep the momentum. We can never stay static. We must always stay on the move. And if one person is tasked with doing that, God be on their side, because it is an impossible task.
Indeed. I mean, while you speaking about that, in the business side, right, in the private sector, you tend to see more people of that nature. And when you sit down with them and you're like, why don't you want to get into politics? And they tell you that it's much easier to manage people in the private sector. You know, if you're a CEO of a company, there are policies that are in place. You don't have to fight with no one in parliament. Like, you make a decision based on facts, and you then, do what you have to do. And in the public space, bro, like, you can see that there are things that can be done. If we can just steal one CEO from there and just put them there for that year alone. But it also seems like the people in the private sector are just not interested in being in politics or trying to, they'd rather lobby, but from a private side. And it's disappointing, but you also understand why, because there's just so much bureaucracy, corruption, and then people you just don't really want to deal with, but also because of the fact that on the private side, it's mostly about money. Whereas in the public sector, from my side, it's meant to be about the people.
Yeah. But you also see the way in the private sector they choose leaders. It's very different. I mean, look at the way our politics is now. If you're good with a microphone, you have a good camera, and you're able to share things online, you can amass a following that gets you into office. Now, a society like that elects jokesters, people who are not serious, those are societies that collapse. You elect someone on the basis of how many people know them and like them, not on the basis of what's the content of their policy, what's their qualification and their preparation to be in that office. You get bad leaders. Now, in the private sector, I will say this though, the private sector attracts the best and the brightest because they know, by and large, not all the time, it is a system of meritocracy. You will get you will get appointed on the basis of what value you bring to the company, its shareholders, and to the bottom line, the profit. In the public sector, I'm talking elected officials, not really government officials like your ASDs and what. You are put into office on the basis of who you know and who are you valuable to. And that is not a system of meritocracy. What is rewarded there is patronage. And I know it's a very big word, but it's true. People should look at patronage. That is what is rewarded. And when you reward patronage, you get a political class of untalented buffoons. And I say that I don't like using words like buffoon, but you do. Exactly. Because some people are not competent to the job that they've been tasked, but in the private sector, you'll get that. And so you need a system of meritocracy where if you are running for office, people don't just like you based off of what your digital profile is, although politicians should be focusing on building a digital profile to market themselves well. But they look at the content of your policy. They look at your history. They look at your history in terms of what you have delivered, whether you've delivered things in the private sector, if you've delivered things in government, you've delivered things in the civic space. What have you delivered? And can people trust you? If people vote on the basis of that, I think we get a good system. But if people vote the way they continue to, on the basis of, this trended, and as soon as this was trending, we saw a spike in the interest of people signing up to be members of this party, we get a society of charlatans. We get a society of jokesters. And when we get such a society, I promise you, decline is to follow. And you're seeing that in America. They elect people based on how good they are at capturing attention on the microphone. And that is a society in decline. It's very evident to anyone that looks at it. I don't look at America and say that's how I want South Africa to look. I think you're sick in the head if you want your country to look like the United States. Why not have your country look like Sweden, Norway, Singapore, Thailand? Well, maybe not so much Thailand now that it's at war. But countries that look at their elected officials not on the basis of a cult-like following, but on the basis of what are their policies, how smart are these people, what are they proposing, and how does that test against what we want our country to look like. And if you decide like that, you get a good country. And that's how board of directors select group CEOs. They look at those things. What can you do? What have you done? What's your qualification, your experience? And how have people that have worked with you perceived you? And what is your vision for the company? Why? Because you're dealing with their money. Why are we so careless when it comes to our lives? I think I think to a degree it is because some people just have an unsophisticated understanding of just how the political process works. That's a fault of many different things. But when you have an unsophisticated understanding of how the political process works, you will vote away your own rights. And you're seeing that in the United States. People who depend on Medicare, the Affordable Care Act, voted for someone who said he's going to abolish it, and now they are seeing their healthcare disappear because they did not care to deal with the important things. But it's very hard to tell a society that. Another reason people in the private sector don't go into politics is because they want to say this to a country. But you say that, go on an election trail and tell people, you are suffering because you get the leaders that you elect, that you want. You elect these people and they do this to you, but you still choose them. You won't win an election. You'll be squished like a bug in the election. But I think we need that frankness. But another reason people from the private sector don't go into government, government's a lot more about compliance than it is about excelling beyond what it sets itself up to do. In the private sector, you have KPIs. If you meet your KPIs, that's good. If you exceed past them, that's spectacular. And that's how you stay in the company. That's your profit and your motive and your incentive to stay. Speak to public servants. They will tell you there has been, for the longest time, a massive importance on compliance. Complying with something versus excelling in something are two very different things. Meeting the 30% pass rate is complying. Getting a distinction is excelling. Now we have a system of people that are excelling in complying, not excelling in excelling. Those are not excellencies. The people you're breeding are excellencies. And I think this is the type of things they need to hear when they adopt a mindset on how we fix the situation. But it's going to be very hard. I don't think I answered your question, but I went on a rant.
No, but it was a necessary rant, you know, and I'm glad that you did that. And you also made the comparisons to the different countries and also the comparison from the private sector and the public sector. And I have another question. Why did you study law?
Well, I'm still studying it because the honest answer is I don't want to do this forever. I recognize I might be in this for a long time, but the role I will take will change. But I'm studying a commerce degree with a specialization in law. So I can still work in your risk and compliance, mergers and acquisitions, and all of those different sectors and spaces within commerce. But ultimately, I don't want to be one of those people who does this game of democracy, nation building, politics, whatever you call it, as an occupation. You're not meant to do this forever. You're supposed to do this for your time. Then you move on and you go do something else. So we get fresh people that come in with fresh ideas, I'm in now. I'm the it now, apparently. 20 years from now, there will have been 5 or 6 different versions of me that were here. Now, if I'm still clinging on, I become like these politicians that are holding on to office. You must diversify yourself. I diversified myself because for the longest time, I've seen myself in the private sector. I haven't really seen myself in government. That's the honest truth. When I got to high school, I went there with the intention of saying, I want to get these marks so I can study this degree, so I can go and do this in the private sector. I am not going to go and do politics forever. It's annoying. It's awful.
Yeah.
You need to do it, but it's annoying and awful, and people who like to do it, I think, need to have their heads checked because it is not something that you can enjoy forever. Because ultimately, it changes you as a person. At first for good, but if you stay long enough, the game has mud. You yourself become the dirt. And the worst thing you can ever do with your life is to become the scum that you entered initially to remove. But you end up becoming that when you stay in the space for too long. So I studied a different degree to force myself to say, you're going to do this and then you're going to graduate. And when you're done graduating, you're going to follow this degree and you're going to do this job and someone else will come and do that work. That's the honest truth.
And would you pick up a trade?
Trade. Someone has to push the door. Is it good?
Yeah.
All right. I think that's the question again.
Would you pick up a trade?
A trade? I'd have to think about it, but I certainly would, because I think that's where the future is headed, especially with AI. Now, I obviously mentioned what I can do with my degree. Those are jobs that I think AI is gonna steer clear of, at least for my time. But I think trade skills are the way of the future for the majority of society. You have software engineers and programmers who 10 years ago had enormous job security, a guarantee of a lucrative income. Today, an AI can do their job twice as fast with no pay and does not require a break for family time, sick, or even just lunch. That's a big change. And so people need to consider it more seriously. But I suppose carpentry, if I had to do a trade, it's specialized skill. And but I'm an environmentalist. I can't be cutting down trees.
Exactly.
I'll have to think about that.
Yeah.
I think we're surrounded by so much wood. That's why I thought carpentry.
I see. And the reason why I'm asking that is because, you know, at X Factor Youth, like I said, like we've given up on saying to young people, go and get a job in South Africa. You know, things are and we've partnered with certain organizations that send people abroad. You know, I myself, I'm a product of volunteering overseas and seeing what actually gets done there and seeing the different types of education systems and how strategic and how intentional they are with the education. And coming back, I've then started changing the narrative. I'm like, yo, there's an opportunity in Germany. There's an opportunity in France. Like, why do you want to be stuck here?
Yeah.
You know, there.
Expand your horizons.
Then if things get better, come back.
Yeah.
And I've seen.
Or come back and make it better. Because you know better now.
Exactly. Because you know better. And since then, there's been 3 generations of people that we've sent abroad for that sole purpose. That was like, okay, go get your skills and come back. But because of the way things are, they ask themselves, why do I need to come back? Why do I need to come back now? And it makes it very difficult for us now to try bring people, because it's not like we don't want the country to be better, but there's a lot of red tape for us to excel. And that is why you see in the past, people like Elon Musk, the Mark Shuttleworths, they left. Yeah. Because they were like, you know, I mean, apart from the apartheid and all that stuff, but they had the opportunity to bounce and they do something great. And there are other South Africans, by the way, in Europe that don't want to be known, that are doing amazing stuff. Yeah. And you ask them, like, bro, why are you here? Like, you should be back home. And they're like, nah, it's easier to be successful here. And that's disheartening, bro. Yeah. That hurts. It really, really hurts. And they picked up those skills. You know, in Germany, they have this thing called Ausbildung, and they've picked up the vocational training and they're excelling. And it's like, bro, the vocational training that we have back home, our TVET colleges, they don't even know about this. Yeah. And with the education systems, because we've seen these politicians abroad in the Amsterdam, it's like, okay, have you not even tried to partner as a TVET college? Partner with another TVET college abroad to facilitate those exchanges if you're really genuine about upskilling young people and bringing them back. And since then, there's private organizations that are doing that. And they tell you the same thing. It's like, I can't go to the Department of Social Development. Yeah. You know, we might as well do it ourselves. And in fact, people abroad, the German government is sponsoring young Black South Africans to go fill up the job market there. So it's all these things that make it very challenging for us to support our politicians, our parties, our country, because there is going to be a brain drain. And organizations are giving up and they are saying, no, let's just go ourselves abroad and find partners and send our young people, because our institutions that are meant to assist us, they're not. And it hurts, bro. It really, really hurts.
Yeah. It's incredibly disheartening. In some ways, the disadvantage is that society won't benefit. Private sector will benefit, obviously, because the emergence of automation and AI. The brain drain will be slightly less painful because, okay, let's just automate and give an AI that specific role. I think it's very difficult to diagnose this problem, where it comes from. But we can certainly say one of the things that contributed to this is a lack of a wanting to be flexible. I think this is a criticism I'm giving the state on a lack of flexibility to go and learn, and then after learning, adapt. Because more instances than not, I talk to these government officials, ministers, DGs, and they say, no, we did go abroad and we did see this and we implemented it. It's in this policy. But ultimately, I'm like, but then why was it not implemented? And they give you a multitude of reasons, but ultimately it comes down to the flexibility of the state machinery to move in that direction. Now, diagnosing where that problem comes from, even within the state, is like, you need a solid year or so just getting down to where does this problem come from. And it's not going to be one thing. It's going to be a multitude of things. This, and that created this environment that has created this problem. But that is where I say the impetus, the importance for young people to occupy positions, not just in business leadership, but in public service, not elected government leadership, public service. Those jobs within the government that, irrespective of who's the government, ANC, DA, whatever, that job remains. You stay there. You're not like the minister. The minister can get reshuffled. You stay doing your job. That's where the importance of young people that are willing to be flexible, learn more, and forcefully impress themselves in the space. Not impress as in, oh, look how excellent you are. Impress, force themselves in the space. That's where the change will come from. Because to an extent, you also have a problem where you have an aging public service. With an aging public service, you have problems that you get when something is aged. It can't move as quickly as it should. There are people that have been trained in specific skills and in specific ways of doing things that change is not adapted very easily. And because of that, jerry-rigging the state machinery is a lot harder. And so that's like a partial diagnosis of where that problem comes from. But then the solution comes in this change of the guard in the public service. Tito Mboweni mentioned it in one of his finance speeches. I feel like I'm getting too technical now, but Tito Mboweni mentions it in one of his finance speeches. He says, the government, public service right now, will begin to age out in bulk. At that time, he was saying it with the context of, he was holding an aloe vera. He's like, we're going to trim the fat. When these 5 retire, we're only going to rehire 2 roles. And so those are 3 jobs that are off the state balance sheet for saving money. I'm saying this from the perspective of when they rehire, they must rehire younger, more dynamic people with an entrepreneurial edge. Intrapreneurial and entrepreneurial. And I say that because some of the best decisions for companies have come from entrepreneurial people and entrepreneurial people. The current group chief executive of Investec, Fanny Titi, is an entrepreneur. He started his own business in the financial services sector. It was so successful that Investec bought it, and now they saw fit to make him group chief executive. Or you look at the group chief executive of Standard Bank, Sim Chabalala.
Yes, sir.
He works He has worked within Standard Bank for the bulk of his career. He's an intrapreneur. He has built successful things within the business that have turned it around. Now the state needs people like that. Policy planners, evaluators, researchers, not just politicians, but people in the public service machinery that change the system like that. And I'm mentioning all of this to say that even if you don't care about politics, you care about employment. Because you want to buy very nice things. You want to live a very nice life. You want to have a good home. You want to take holidays. You want to do all of these incredible things. And you want to do that in South Africa, because I guarantee you, I just come from abroad. The world is beautiful, but it's not home. Doesn't feel like home. You don't have the protection of home. You don't have the safety of home. You don't have the people you have here at home. It feels very lonely if you've grown up in a South African context and you're out there. And so for the South Africans that stay out there, they will tell you themselves, we're out here, we wouldn't go back, but damn it, we wish we could.
Exactly.
And so I'm telling this to people listening to say that you're here now. Skill yourself, educate yourself, build yourself the best way you can. The economy will bounce back. I don't want to sound like that Ugandan finance minister that was like, money will come. The economy will bounce back. I think it's inevitable. There's too many people invested in South Africa's future for it not to bounce back. And also there are those of us in the space that are making sure that the environment is set for a comeback. My encouragement to people now is to just say, be in a position to take advantage of those opportunities when they emerge. I can't give you a date. These things are unpredictable. But believe that there are people out there fighting for your future. It's a hard fight, but we'll win. I think we'll win. I'm going to spend my time fighting, whether I'm in the space or I'm in the private sector. Wherever I am, you can guarantee that I will be pushing for progressive change for South Africa. And I know so many young people that are doing the same. Your Irfan Mangeras, your Tara Roses, your Kumo Kumalos, your Busiso Mazumbas, people that are doing really important work. These are people you don't know, but they're fighting for your future and theirs and everyone else's. So I'm not pessimistic. And I think that answers your question, because I think it just tugs to the deeper question within that, and that is, what does the future hold? That is why people want to leave. That is why people don't want to stick and fight it out. What does the future hold? It holds positive things because there are good people out there. But these excellencies must join them.
Exactly. Definitely. If you were to get into business, knowing what you know now, politically, socially, economically, where would you find yourself, or which industry would you populate?
More broadly, I'd need to be in a space where I can take advantage of the AI revolution. This is our generation's gold rush. It's unfortunate it's going to displace a lot of jobs, but it's our generation's gold rush. You can be good in AI skills or train yourself in that way, and then you can pretty much work in finance sector. You can work in the insurance sector. You can work in logistics. You can work in securities services. So I'd position myself there because I think that's where you can maximize the most amount of utility. The second space would be in media. Media is massive, and I think lots of people don't recognize the power of media. Social media has democratized your ability to build an audience. Now, you just need to learn how to build an audience, monetize it, sustain it, and grow it, and turn it into an entity. I think those are the low-hanging fruit that are really, you want to take a huge bite out of life and make your fortune. Those are the sectors in my mind that I think there's a lot of utility in. Outside of those, you have to go to your basic ones. Medicine, people will always be sick. the artisanal skills sector. I think that's one people discount a lot because of the societal perception of it. Listen, I went to a school where with the wealthiest kid, his dad was a plumber and owned a plumbing business. And I'm talking these guys had Porsches, Lamborghinis, lived in massive houses. I think he's in Dubai now. But his parents owned a plumbing business. His dad did. And they did exceptionally well. And you go and you look at how other countries view people with skills of being an electrician, a plumber, doing, working with, being a carpenter. These are important skills that the world will always have a demand for. Automation will be slow to penetrate that sector. Take advantage of those low-hanging fruit because these are opportunities that are in demand. The one thing government does get right is in their critical skills list. They will tell you the artisanal sector people in these spaces are needed in the economy. And if we're serious about building South Africa, how are you going to build South Africa with people that know how to lay new pipelines for sewage and water distribution? We have load shedding. How are we going to build a country with electricians that know how to build new substations, power lines, transmission, distribution, and generation? All of these things you can have a stake in if you prepare yourself in those skills. And they're the low-hanging fruit. But social perception, that's a killer. It kills many people in that space. In one of the ways I'm actually very glad because I'm giving my very honest opinion now. Yeah.
No, I'm glad you mentioned that because, again, like, here, we chase the university degrees, we want, you know what I'm saying? But abroad, that's how the economies are built. The Ausbildungs, the vocational trainings, the skilled aspect, working with hands. Hey, people make money, And
those are the people they're trying to attract back now.
Exactly. So, yeah, I think, like you said, like changing the stigma around vocational training and yeah, just seeing how you can find a space there. Cause I'm of the view that you can have a degree. That's good to have, but pick up a trade.
Yeah.
Just to back it up, so that is the part that I'm going on moving forward. And we really like to encourage the excellencies for that as well. Like it's good and well, you can flex with your degrees, but money is here, because they can take away your degree and all that stuff. But I mean, if you have your hand, you are able to really still be something and do something. And the fact that you said like a plumber, like who would look at it that way? Like a plumber, really? But the plumber knows.
They know
that, there's money here,
And it's always, I was told this in high school. I said, when someone finds a new gold mine, they're not going to run back to town and say, I struck gold. But you're going to quietly see their lifestyle change. Bigger home, better cars, better everything. They're sitting on gold and they're not telling anyone. But this is the gold of our era. This is AI is the gold. The vocational training is how you will carve out a life for yourself in the future. In my anticipation, not anticipation, but the way I see the future panning out. That's why the work you're doing is important.
Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. What state of affairs would you like to address? And what solution, from your perspective, do you think we need to address that state of affair?
Oh, where do you start? There's just too many things. It's obviously in the country. You can't start with the economy and not fix the society, because we have a problem now where to fix the economy, you need some form of a change or a transformation of the way it's structured. Who has capital? Who has access to it? Who has ownership? And how are they using it? But if you do that without fundamentally transforming the society, you will have a society that sabotages the transformation you're trying to do. It's like you build a beautiful garden and then people still go and they take a pea in it and they throw their trash in it. It's a beautiful garden that's now being ruined because the society hasn't changed their mind. And so it's a very difficult one to change. I can't change one. I have to change multiple concurrently. Concurrently.
Yeah.
You'll correct me in the comments. Yeah, I have to change multiple at the same time if I have the opportunity.
Yeah.
And that's the only way I can see having a positive impact. But then again, it won't just be me. I'll need to make sure that if I start it, there's someone else that can continue it and finish it. And then that person is going to have to make sure they have someone else that continues until the person that finishes it knows to either come up with a new plan or step aside and let someone else find a new problem to solve. It's the nature of things. You have the builders, the Steve Jobses of the world that build, your Apples. I have the phone in my pocket. And then you have the Tim Cooks that have to come in and stabilize the organization and take it to the next step. And that's how you grow a business. A government needs to have, it is very much the same way. You have your Lee Kuan Yew that comes and builds a country, and then you have I think it's a Gojo Ko who comes in after Lee Kuan Yew and has to stabilize the nation in its new future. And then you have a Lee Hsien Loong that comes in and really integrates it into the global international architecture of the future. And those are biomedicine, artificial intelligence and technology, financial services, tourism, and all of that. That is the change that needs to happen. And so when you say, what can I do? I can't do anything on my own. I can only start the process, but someone else is going to have to finish it. That's the state of affairs of South Africa, sadly. We're not going to be able to fix it all in our generation. It's just too far gone. It's going to have to be people behind us. But if we start now, we will live to see the benefits materialize. We will taste the harvest. We might not taste all of it, but we will taste the yield and the harvest of our hard work. And I think that's worth doing. Some people don't want to do that. I think perhaps there's a selfishness that stops them from doing that, because to do that, you have to give off more than you receive. But in so doing, you live to see a world and you live to live a life that is progressively getting better than progressively getting worse. And I suppose there's a selfish benefit for you in the end.
Of course. And I think that serves as a good motive.
Yeah.
To be selfish. Some of us improve our communities because we don't want anyone trying to break into our homes.
Yeah.
So we intentionally give the youth something to do so that they don't think about, let's try and break into that person's home. So I think it does help being selfish, but it's how you maneuver around that selfishness, I believe. So we vote.
Yes.
What is the future of So We Vote, and how can we get involved as an organization, So We Vote?
Well, I always start by saying the future of So We Vote is not me. I'll be gone soon enough, and there'll be someone else running the show, taking it to a bigger, better, higher place. The way you can get involved in So We Vote is by bringing young people to us so that we can have these conversations with them around their specific part in owning the nation and how really the capacity to transform society, it's there. Yes, it's in a bad place, but it's there, and we need to find a way. Another way that we can get involved as an organization is we can create a pipeline that we can take young people who interact with our platform and feel incredibly disempowered with the way the state of affairs are outside of politics. And we can direct them to X Factored. And we can say, go there. When you get to X Factored, you will find people who know and can guide and can steer you in the direction that can change your life. There's a lot of intersectionality in our industry. We need to work together. I'm one part of the puzzle, you're the other. And then there's 16,000 other organizations doing 16,000 other things whilst we're doing our thing. Together, we're a positive momentum. I always use the example. Imagine a storm. A storm is a very powerful thing. But when you break it down, a storm is nothing more than just little drops of water. Soy Vote is one drop. X Factor is one. And there are many others in the metaphorical storm. And so we just need to find ways to integrate the work that we do. And so I suppose that's a conversation where we talk deeper about what our operations are, the room for merger, or if not merger, the room for strategic partnership. And we just keep doing good. Never underestimate the good work that you do, because you change more lives than you will actually know. And once I'm talking about you specifically, that realization makes this work all the more worth doing. And so these partnerships become more valuable.
I got you. No, thank you so much for that. As we land this plane, in this particular show, we always give our guests the opportunity to ask the next person a question. What question would you like to ask the next guest that will be on this show?
How do you see the world changing for better, and what role do you play in it?
Got you. How do you see the world better, and what role do you play in it? That's beautiful. That's a beautiful, beautiful question. Where can people find you? Now's the time you shout out, YouTube's, whatever podcast you on, you know what I'm saying? Like, now is your time to just really expose yourself, but also let the excellencies know that I know you do a lot of things. So where can they find you? Whether it's on the streets, on the social medias, where you at, bro?
You can find me on LinkedIn. I'll start there, mainly to force lots of people to create LinkedIns. Then you'll find me on the Born Free podcast, which now has its own platform at the time of this podcast's airing. So you can check us out on there. You'll find me on Twitter. I recently took my Instagram private because I want to be selfish and make it my own Instagram. But if in fact you feel that we should talk and connect and all of that, you can find me on Instagram at Otsile _Nkadimeng on Instagram, at Otsile Nkadimeng on Twitter, and the rest, just Google and you'll find the rest. But that's where you'll find me. But I doubt you'll find me in the streets.
You all over, man. You're not chilling on the streets. And
no.
What, as your last parting shots, what message do you have for the young excellencies today and now? You can even look at the cameras, even if you want to tell them their nonsense, or just give them something that they can take away, a young doggy bag, from the great Otsile Nkadimeng.
I will say one thing, or maybe two. I think right now you need to recognize the opportunity that stands before you. In front of you is a once-in-a-generation opportunity to reshape the future in a way that very few people will ever get the chance to do. In times of great chaos and uncertainty come the best opportunities. And it's for you and I now to seize this opportunity and make a better world out of it. We're not going to get another chance at this life thing. We're only going to get this one shot. And I'm not keen on playing around with this life. I want to make something good. I want to do the important things. I want to fix what I can whilst I'm still here. And so you have the chance to do that. You don't have to do it at a big scale. Even in your community, talking to your friends, talking to your neighbors, you do a lot of good there. Like I said, little raindrops, but together we make a big storm. So I think that's all I have to say. Share the goodie bag.
Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it yourself. To share the goodie bag, do good, be good, and just really shift the communities, change communities. You heard, the little drops can create a tsunami. We want to create hurricanes out here, but you always have to start small. But again, find the right people and be surprised. There are a lot of amazing young individuals that truly, truly care about society and want to help you make that change. Ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellencies, Bliss Sibia. This is the X Factor Youth Show with Otsile Nkadimeng signing out.
X Factor Youth. I'm part of the X Factor Youth. Put me on stage, you can find me in the book. Put me on a track like I'm stuck inside a booth. I'm that nigga, young nigga with the truth. Black body with a Jewish mindset flow. Black man with a lot of grind, I know. Inside I go, my mind's on though. I hide my mode, me blind, my bro. Never ever did they realize my bro. Grown man making niggas cry, my bro.